Millions of FPV drones are now changing the battlefield in Ukraine. But near Pokrovsk, the real shock is not only the number in the sky. The real shock is how one small strike can open a chain of losses far behind the Russian front line. A group of Russian soldiers steps out from a shelter near a forest road, thinking the ground and trees still give him cover. Above them, a Ukrainian UAV is already watching. It finds the movement, holds the target in view, and gives the FPV team the moment to strike. Seconds later, the FPV comes in low. The soldiers has almost no time to react because the attack is already in its final stage. By the time they hears the drone, the battlefield has already decided the next move. But this is not just about one group of men being hit near Pokrovsk. That first target can reveal the route behind them. A supply vehicle that arrives later can lead Ukrainian operators to a small delivery point, and that delivery point can expose where Russian forces are gathering ammunition for the next push. Then, the danger grows. When Russian forces try to protect the area with radar and air defense, those systems also begin to create signals that Ukraine can follow. So what really happens after the first Ukrainian UAV locks onto movement near Pokrovsk? And why can one close-range FPV strike become the start of a much larger disaster behind Russian lines? The first strike near Pokrovsk begins with a small movement on a forest road. But that movement is enough to change the whole situation for the Russian infantry group. A few soldiers have left a shelter line and are trying to move toward a forward fighting position, using trees, broken ground, and the roadside ditch to reduce exposure. From the ground, the route may look safer than the open field beside it. The road bends along the forest edge, and the ditch gives a man just enough depth to lower his body below direct fire. But above the trees, a Ukrainian UAV is already watching, and its camera sees movement the soldiers are trying to hide. One Russian soldier steps out from the forest edge and drops into the ditch. He does not appear to be leading a major assault at that moment. He is only crossing a short section of ground, but on this battlefield, short movement can be enough to draw attention. The UAV keeps him inside the frame, tracks his direction, and confirms that he is not alone in the area. This is where the danger becomes different from a normal artillery threat. Artillery may take time to correct fire, and small arms need a clear line from the ground. The UAV does not need either condition. It only needs to keep watching. Once the target is confirmed, the direction of travel and the position near the ditch are passed to an FPV team waiting for a chance to strike. The FPV does not arrive from high above like a distant bomb. It comes in low, close to the ground, using the road and trees as part of its approach. That low path makes the final attack harder to read from the soldier's position, because the drone stays near the level of the terrain until the last seconds. By the time the sound becomes clear, the FPV is already closing the distance. The Russian soldier tries to react, but the space around him gives very little help. The ditch that looked useful a moment earlier now limits his movement. The forest edge is behind him, the road is exposed beside him, and there is no solid cover close enough to break the drone's view. A short sprint cannot beat a camera-guided FPV at this range. The strike shows why the final explosion is not the beginning of the danger. The real turning point happened earlier, when the UAV first saw the soldier leave cover. From that moment, the fight moved into a chain of observation, decision, and attack. The soldier may have believed he was choosing a safer path, but the UAV had already turned that path into a marked target line. This changes the meaning of infantry movement near Pokrovsk. Russian soldiers are not only trying to avoid shells, rifle fire, and mines. They are moving under an overhead watch that can follow a single man, guide a strike drone, and punish a mistake within seconds. A soldier no longer needs to be part of a large formation to become important. If his movement reveals a route or position, he becomes useful to the Ukrainian kill chain. After the FPV hits, the Ukrainian UAV does not leave the area. It stays above the same road, looking for what comes next. The first strike has already shown that Russian infantry is using this route, and that makes the road more valuable than the target itself. The next movement may reveal where supplies are being delivered and which point behind the line is supporting the fight ahead. The next target near Pokrovsk is not another soldier in the ditch. It is a Russian supply vehicle moving into the same forest road, and that makes the battlefield more dangerous for the entire unit behind the first strike. After the FPV hit, the Ukrainian UAV stays above the area and watches the road instead of leaving. This is the key change in the operation. A Russian supply vehicle soon enters the route at a careful speed. It moves like a driver trying to avoid attention, keeping close to the tree line and using the narrow road as the safest path toward the front. From the ground, this may look like a small delivery run. From above, it becomes a moving signal. The Ukrainian UAV does not call in a strike immediately. Destroying the vehicle on the first bend would stop one delivery, but following it can reveal the larger system. The camera tracks its direction, watches where it slows down, and studies the point where it leaves the main path. That patience turns a normal transport mission into a source of intelligence. The vehicle then turns toward a thinner section of trees near a defensive position. It stops beside a small gathering point where supplies appear to be moved from the vehicle toward nearby cover. This is the moment when the target changes meaning. It is no longer just a truck. It is a link between the rear area and the Russian soldiers holding the line near Pokrovsk. Once the stop is confirmed, the FPV team moves in. The first FPV approaches low and fast, using the same terrain that the vehicle tried to use for protection. It strikes near the vehicle at the delivery point, breaking the movement of supplies right where they are being handed over. A single hit at this moment does more than damage metal. It interrupts the exchange between transport and infantry. The effect spreads quickly because the vehicle is attacked at the worst possible place for Russia. At the delivery point, ammunition, food, gear, and men are all close together, and that gives Ukraine a stronger result from one short attack. A bomber drone then continues the strike on the cargo area. Its role is different from the FPV. The FPV opens the attack by stopping the vehicle, while the bomber drone works over the supplies and the nearby receiving point. Small drops land around the place where boxes and equipment are gathered, forcing Russian soldiers to abandon the delivery before it can be completed. This is where the story becomes larger than one destroyed vehicle. The supply run has exposed a pattern. It shows where the vehicle came in, where it stopped, and where Russian troops expected to receive materials. Each of those details gives Ukrainian operators a clearer picture of the small supply line supporting this part of the front. Near Pokrovsk, that kind of information can be more valuable than the first explosion. A truck can be replaced, but a revealed route becomes dangerous every time it is used again. A delivery point can be moved, but the movement needed to rebuild it creates fresh signs for the UAV above. By the end of this phase, Ukraine has not only broken a transport mission, it has turned that mission into a map of Russian support activity. The next question is no longer where the supply vehicle was hit. The more important question is where those supplies were being stored before they reached the road. The supply vehicle does not end the operation near Pokrovsk. It opens the next layer of the fight because the Ukrainian UAV remains above the road and begins to follow the pattern behind the delivery. After the vehicle operation is hit, Russian movement does not stop completely. Small groups and support vehicles continue to appear near the same forest route in the next few days, but they no longer move with the same confidence. Some slow down before reaching the damaged delivery point, while others turn toward a low group of buildings near the edge of a village. The Ukrainian UAV keeps watching that area from above. At first, the buildings look ordinary, with damaged roofs, narrow yards, and tree cover around the walls. But the movement around them tells a different story. Vehicles arrive, stay for a short time, then leave again toward the front. Men move between the structures with boxes and equipment. The same path is used more than once, and that repetition gives the position away. This is the moment when the target becomes larger than a single truck. The low buildings appear to be part of a small support hub for Russian forces around Pokrovsk. It not a major base with a clear military shape, but that is exactly why it matters. Small storage points like this can keep an assault group supplied, give vehicles a place to wait, and allow equipment to be prepared close enough to the fighting line. Ukraine does not rush the next strike. Hitting one vehicle outside the building would create a quick explosion, but waiting allows more value to gather in one place. The UAV continues to record movement until several vehicles and supply signs are visible inside the same compound. Only then does the attack shift from a close FPV hit to a heavier strike drone. The strike drone comes in with a larger warhead and aims at the main storage building. The impact tears into the structure and fire spreads through the yard. The first blast is followed by smaller flashes, suggesting that fuel or ammunition may have been inside. The damage is no longer limited to transport. It reaches the place where Russia was preparing the next round of movement. That is what makes this stage dangerous for the Russian side. A destroyed truck can be replaced with another vehicle, but a burned storage point removes time, supplies, and order from the local battle plan. The Ukrainian UAV then notices another sign of activity in a smaller building nearby. This second structure does not look like a normal storage room. Movement around it is more careful, and equipment appears to be handled in a way that suggests a drone team may be working there. If Russian UAV operators are using that site to watch the area, then it is not just a shelter. It is part of Russia's own eyes over the battlefield. A second FPV is sent toward the side building. Its purpose is clear. Ukraine wants to disrupt the Russian team that may be trying to observe the same road, track Ukrainian positions, and guide a response. The FPV strikes the staging point, turning Russia's attempt to watch the area into another exposed weakness. By the end of this phase, the attack has moved from infantry to supply, then from supply to preparation. Ukraine has not only damaged vehicles and ammunition near Pokrovsk, it has hit the place where the next Russian move was being organized. That pressure forces Russia to defend the support area more openly, and once radar and air defense are brought closer, the next targets begin to show themselves. The Russian response near Pokrovsk now pulls a larger target into the battle. After the supply vehicle, storage point, and UAV operator site are hit, Russian forces cannot treat the attack as a small frontline problem anymore. They need to protect the support area because the road has already been watched, the delivery point has been struck, and the nearby staging site has been exposed. That forces Russian commanders to increase air surveillance around the route. A radar system is activated to scan for Ukrainian UAV activity, while a mobile air defense unit is moved closer to the threatened zone. This reaction is understandable from the Russian side, but it also creates a new risk. Radar and air defense are not quiet tools. They need movement, power, crews, vehicles, and clear positions to work. Once they become active near the same supply corridor, they begin to show patterns that a Ukrainian UAV can study from above. The Ukrainian UAV does not need to strike first. Its role is to keep watching the area after the earlier attacks and look for the next layer of protection. It follows vehicle movement near the support zone, notes where the air defense unit slows down, and observes how the crew sets up near a position that can cover the road and the damaged storage area. The mobile air defense system becomes the first priority because it is the shield closest to the Ukrainian drones operating near the ground. As long as it remains active, FPV teams and strike drones face greater danger when flying into the area. Removing that shield would make the next phase of the operation easier and reduce the risk for follow-up attacks. A long-range FPV is then guided toward the air defense position. It does not fly in a straight, high path where it can be seen early. It approaches low, using terrain and broken cover to stay difficult to track. The Ukrainian UAV keeps the position under observation and helps confirm the target before the FPV enters its final run. The strike hits the air defense unit near its working area, forcing the Russian crew to abandon the position or lose the system. Even if the damage is not total at first, the result is still serious. The system is no longer free to operate with confidence, and the local protection around the supply route becomes weaker. Once that layer is disrupted, attention turns to the radar. This is a different kind of target. The air defense unit is a weapon meant to shoot down drones, but the radar is part of the wider warning network. It helps Russian forces see what is coming, track movement in the sky, and alert nearby units before Ukrainian drones arrive. The Ukrainian UAV studies the radar position through the activity around it. Support vehicles move near the site, crew behavior becomes more visible, and the pattern of operation points to a fixed area. When the target is confirmed, another strike is directed toward the radar to reduce Russia's ability to detect Ukrainian UAVs from farther away. This is where the battle changes shape. It is no longer only about a soldier in a ditch, a supply vehicle on a road, or a small storage point near a village. The fight has moved into the system that tries to control the air above those targets. By pulling radar and air defense into the same chain of damage, Ukraine forces Russia into a harder choice. If these systems stay silent, Ukrainian UAVs gain more freedom to watch. If they become active, they create signs that can be followed. When daytime protection starts to weaken, Russian forces may try to shift more movement into the night, but that brings them into another dangerous layer of the drone war. The battle near Pokrovsk does not pause when the sun goes down. After radar, air defense, and staging areas come under pressure, Russian forces try to move more activity into the night, but Ukrainian UAV teams keep watching with thermal cameras. This is the moment when the fight becomes more than a daytime FPV hunt. During the day, Ukrainian UAVs can see movement along roads, tree lines, and damaged buildings. At night, the same mission continues through heat signatures. A soldier leaving a shelter, a truck engine cooling beside a road, and a group gathering near a delivery point can still appear clearly on the screen. Russian units once had more room to move after dark. Supplies could be pushed forward, wounded troops could be pulled back, and assault groups could shift closer to the line before morning. Near Pokrovsk, that old rhythm is becoming harder to use because darkness no longer removes the eyes above the battlefield. A Ukrainian UAV with thermal vision stays over the same support zone that was hit earlier. The normal image has changed, but the pattern remains visible. Warm bodies stand out against colder ground. Vehicle engines leave bright marks. Short stops along a forest road become easier to notice when the surrounding area is dark and still. A Russian truck enters the road at night with lights off and moves slowly toward the front. The driver may believe that silence and darkness reduce the risk, but the UAV sees the heat from the vehicle before the truck reaches the delivery point. The camera follows it, confirms the direction, and waits for the moment when it slows down near cover. The FPV team is then given the target. The attack drone moves in close, guided by the information from the UAV above. The strike does not need a large convoy to matter. One vehicle carrying supplies at night can support a small position by morning, and destroying it before unloading cuts that support before it reaches the men waiting ahead. At the same time, the air war above this battlefield is changing as well. Russia continues to use UAVs and Shahed-type drones to search, strike, and pressure Ukrainian positions. Ukraine answers with drone interceptors, creating a new layer of combat where drones are no longer only hunting ground targets. They are now hunting each other in the sky. An interceptor can receive live images, track a slower Russian UAV, and close the distance before the threat reaches its target area. This does not replace traditional air defense, but it adds a cheaper and more flexible layer. It also shows how fast the drone war is expanding, because every new Russian drone creates demand for a faster Ukrainian counter-drone. This makes the area around Pokrovsk feel like a battlefield with no real break. During daylight, UAVs detect movement, and FPVs strike exposed targets. After dark, thermal UAVs continue the search. Above both sides, interceptors begin to challenge enemy UAVs before they can complete their mission. For Russian forces, the pressure becomes constant. A soldier leaving a dugout can be watched. A supply vehicle can be followed. A drone operator point can be traced. A radar that turns on can become a target. Even a night movement meant to reduce danger can create the heat mark that gives the route away. By this stage, Ukraine is not just winning single drone strikes. It is forcing Russian units to make every movement under observation. The damage is measured not only in destroyed vehicles or broken equipment, but in hesitation, delay, and fear of exposure. The battlefield is becoming a continuous hunting zone where the danger begins the moment something moves. The most important lesson from the strike chain near Pokrovsk is not that one FPV drone hit one Russian target. The real shock is how fast one small movement became the start of a much wider battlefield trap. The pattern on this battlefield is clear. Once Ukrainian UAVs control the view from above, every Russian movement can become the first step in a larger chain of exposure. A soldier leaving cover can reveal a route, a supply vehicle can reveal a delivery point, and an effort to defend that area can expose air defense assets as new targets. This is why drone warfare in Ukraine is no longer just a story about cheap weapons causing expensive damage. It is becoming a way to control the rhythm of war. Russia still has artillery, infantry, electronic warfare, and ways to adapt. But every adaptation may create new movement, new signals, and new chances to be detected. The next phase may be even harsher. If this pattern continues, the battle around Pokrovsk could show how future wars are shaped not by who fires first, but by who sees first. So what comes next? Can Russia break this drone chain, or will Ukraine keep turning movement into exposure? Share your thoughts below, and if this analysis helped, like, share, and subscribe to Military Force for more clear coverage on weapons, battles, and the politics behind the war.